No, he grabbed the cane. No, I'll tell you what. He grabbed Palva, who was barely alive, and started beating her against the man on the floor.
One hand he had Paola, the other the Cayman. He's still wielding them, doing massive DPS.
Lombardi then grabbed the hammer and smashed the man's head with all the leftover anger and hatred he had. Anger and hatred, chief exports of the Ukraine. Lombardi pukes and sobs as he looked at Palva's body, all but leftover meat and skin.
This is going to be the most violent, tense swappingest story ever.
Jacob, by the way, I think you and I both know we really should have gotten one of our friends to read this story.
Yep.
And I think you know who. Lombardi crawls downstairs and leaves the house immediately. He was rescued by a team of police wolves. Let's see. Lombardi could not function his legs properly for driving, but with what he had left over, he tried to see how far he could get.
How's he ever going to become Jumpman?
Lombardi drive 1 to 2 miles, one or the other, onto the road and just stopped and gave up. He made it out safely and would later start an online fiction writing career under the name Pet Rock. He wanted his life to end at this point, but he just sat in the car crying. Jesus Christ, man. So he alternates between being action movie hard and just weeping. 6 hours later, a man named Delbert met Lombardi on the road and immediately took him to a police station and then was hospitalized. So Delbert was hospitalized? What the fuck is wrong with Delbert?
On the way to the police station, he was savagely beaten by criminals.
The Ukraine police reported to the forest, and after 3 to 4 hours of searching,
Wait,
they finally
report
found
to the forest. Like, Forest, we've come to give you a report.
Yes, actually there's a Deku tree deep in the Ukrainian forest, and it commands the police.
Oh, we've cracked the case. By Ukraine, it's Hyrule when Ganon's taken over. It's starting to make all sense now.
They were utterly disgusted, they found 5 small snakes and hundreds of insects, spiders, ants, flies, and maggots, consuming Palva's remains. And wasn't she, yeah, they called her something different. Yeah, it was Pavla. So,
yeah, it was Pavla at the beginning of the story.
Yeah. They also reported a dead South American imported caiman, another dead human, and a dead West African chimpanzee. To which they said, who let all this good food go to waste?
The one joke in this whole video is the Ukraine is a diet.
The Vore-Filiac man, which, by the way, I just want to put in as a disclaimer if we hear any of this, we make these jokes not in spite of, but because of the hardships the Ukrainian people have faced, and, our thoughts go out to them, really.
Yeah. You should probably say at the beginning, put that at the beginning,
Yes, Eli, put that right at the beginning. It's like a disclaimer. The Vore-Filiac man was identified as, here's a Slavic-sounding name, 31-year-old Devon Boyer, a college dropout of Kiev Polytechnic Institute. The animals were legally imported, and Pavlov's parents... Have you noticed none of these are even remotely, aside from Pavla, none of these are remotely Slavic names?
I like that she's Pavla again now.
Well, she's fine. Her sister is the one who got eaten by a fucking caiman. Also, I like to,
officially declared dead the next day.
Does it really matter that they were illegally imported? Would it have changed the story to any significance if he got them in legally? What are you going to do with this giant fucking lizard? Party entertainer?
It would have been more news, because be like, hey guys, look what I did in the Ukraine that the government was okay with. Let's see. 1 week later, Lombardi was taken out of the hospital, but I thought Delbert was in the hospital, and quit his job. Lombardi soon lived with his older brother, oh my god, Luigi Spartaco Lombardi.
Spartaco.
No, I take it back. That's a porn star name.
Mario and Luigi came to the funeral, then left without much said. Well, no, see, they went up to the front and they tried to speak, but all it was speaking as they did in the Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga.
Yeah.
Mario was in deep depression and fear after the funeral, and Luigi constantly came to Mario for help. Well, that's not helping anything. Mario did not like drinking, so he usually took hits of acid to make him stay out of reality once in a while.
It's got a bit dark, isn't it?
It's only getting dark now.
Yeah, after all the rape, suddenly we're getting into drugs.
We're coming up on the joke. In Mario's hallucinations, he would usually picture himself as a hero trying to save, or, a plumber, but, hey, that's having an occupation, which is a step up.
You spent all day walking through a river of shit. It's like a dream job in the recap.
trying to save Pavlov from some evil man trying to destroy all of Ukraine with evil forces of reptiles. That's already happened.
Mr. President.
No, I just picture like across the Russian border, like dragons flying. Yeah.
When I think of evil forces of reptiles, I can't help but think of the Conservative Party.
It was also a constant nightmare for Mario. He lived in never-ending fear, picturing Pavlov's last moments before her tragedy. Torture, rape, fear, violence, eaten alive. They're basically the worst things that can happen to someone in Mario's opinion, and he was a witness to all of that. No, I'm pretty sure that's everybody's opinion.
And just like the worst things that can happen to someone in his opinion. No, the worst things that can happen to someone.
I don't think you can really get much worse unless you invite some Cenobites over or
1
something.
year later, Luigi was running short on money for supporting Mario, so he told Mario that he needed a job. But Mario was still upset. Well, too bad. Luigi worked as a plumber for more than 6 years, and he knew all Mario liked to do was paint and exercise. Luigi thought that if Mario got the same job with his brother, it would be fun because they get to stay together more often. If you have ever tried entering into business with your family, you know that is usually not a good idea.
Also, it'll be fun, to hang out with your manic depressive brother who's been mooching off you for a fucking year.
And is on like a 24/7 acid trip.
And also, like, you don't just go in. Plumbing is an extremely difficult vocation. You can't just waltz into it not knowing jack shit.
Starting at ground level, like, what you're doing is you're going to be handing him tools, maybe, if you're lucky.
And reading a lot. And seeing as how they obviously had burned all the books for heat some years ago.
Mario was later convinced and soon became a plumber after short training. Mario still took minor hits of acid during the time, though.
I like just minor hits of acid. Like, anybody watching at home who's ever taken LSD can say right fucking now, there's no minor amount. Let's put it this way: I had enough once in a glass of wine to not really affect the taste of the wine, and I was flying for about 6 hours.
Is that the one where you started quoting The Lion King?
Yeah.
What did you see?
I believed that I was Simba from The Lion King. And as I sat on a bin looking down at the grass as it began to run, I believed it was wildebeest trampling my father. I also saw the moon fall out of the sky, and apparently I spent a long time talking to a tree. I do remember...
Then he took some acid.
My puke was really disgusting, kind of brownish colour, and I remember looking over at my friend as I was beginning to get a bit more lucid. I looked over before the second wave hit me. I looked over at my friend, and as he declared that I should have no problem climbing this, he just scurried along the floor.
On June 17, 1979, the newspaper about the tragedy of Palva again, Florence, spread across Europe and Asia. Oh, this was written by somebody from the South. It spread across them there Europe and Asia. It was written by a man who was going to work for Nintendo.
Okay, hold out for a second, because, right... Shocking news! Something tragic and horrific happened in the Ukraine! Hold the fucking presses!
Yeah, like that would get on the news. Somebody was tortured and raped in the Ukraine. Well, fuck me sideways.
Oh my, was this did they get the dates wrong? Or was this just as man had stepped out of the Garden of Eden? This is shocking news!
The time of video gaming was about to occur, and the man wanted to think of really good ideas for a profitable game with a good technique.
Okay, right.
I was hoping we'd come to this.
Before we talk about how fucking disturbing this is, right? I was trying to think, video games were already kind of in full swing by the time Super Mario came around.
Yeah, and I just love this. I love the phrasing, the time of video gaming was about to occur. No, and this honestly reads like one of those, the back packaging of one of those Chinese knockoff video game consoles.
Timing on video game. Grades come now.
Good
Believe Mao.
With good in order to win big, must have good technique.
Jimmy and Bimmy.
Before the newspapers were published, Mario Ciro Lombardi was interviewed twice, and some workers for Nintendo watched the translated version of Lombardi's interview because nobody at Nintendo spoke Italian, apparently. They were amazed on Mario's story and wanted to use his permission to make a video game partially based off him and his story. That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened to
this is the whole premise of the...
the only girl I ever really cared about back in the Ukraine was violently sexually assaulted several times, not all by humans, and her carcass was eaten by lizards.
And I was mauled by a chimpanzee.
Yeah, and now my legs don't work. So,
and it was in the Ukraine.
And then somebody's going, now that's the winner. Folks. Shigeru Miyamoto's grinning face. That one.
Yeah. Well, you see, Shigeru Miyamoto, he was doing the interview and he snuck into Mario's acid stash, so he thought it was a great idea.
I know the whole premise of the story is like the secret is behind Mario. You know, like it's all red. Like it's hilarious how preposterous this fucking.
No, like Mario goes home to Luigi and he's like, "Hey, how'd the interview go? Did they like the idea?" He was like, "Well, I'm not entirely sure." He started, most of the time he was rocking back and forth on the floor, and then he started banging his head into the wall while screaming about gelato. But I think that's a good sign.
He kept screaming about the spiders! The giant spiders coming out of his eyes! I don't know what to do! I mean, it's not the threat season in the Ukraine for the spiders to come out of someone's eyes yet.
Let's see.
I am answering my eyes in Miyamoto.
Oh my god, he is pet rock. Mario said it was quote-unquote okay, and Luigi agreed as well. They wanted to create an antagonist for the video game, but Mario did not want them to use Devon Boyer, because it will remind him and others in Ukraine of the psychopathic murderer, Witch! So they based off the giant monkey from King Kong and the chimpanzee pet of the voreophilic man into one regular-sized gorilla named Donkey Kong. It was called Donkey because the man who designed Donkey Kong thought donkey meant stupid in English, and also Mario Ciro Lombardi told Nintendo that he wants the monkey to be called stupid because of what the chimpanzee did to Lombardi's legs.
Yes, turn this horrible animal into a lovable villain in your game.
All I could hear day in and day out while I was crawling across that floor, which took hours, was do 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 do.
I just looked at that fucking monkey, and every time it grinned at me, going,
Nintendo's bestseller arcade game, Donkey Kong, in 1981.
That's a whole sentence.
No. Listen. In Nintendo's bestseller arcade game, Donkey Kong, in 1981.
That's a sentence.
Jacob, we're linking this story in the description below, right?
Yeah.
So this is on Troll Pasta Wiki.
Yeah, it's under the category of pasta trying to be good, but sucks enough to be a troll.
Okay, so we have no evidence that this was actually intended to be satirical.
No. As far as anyone knows, this is supposed to be scary.
It's trying to be good, but failing so hard.
Yeah,
I've been operating under the assumption that this was a satirical work, so I haven't been judging it too harshly. But now that you tell me that it's very likely somebody tried, protagonist Carpenter Heroic Man is supposed to represent Mario Ciro Lombardi, fictional character only referred to as Mario.
Actually, no, he's referred to as Jumpman, but never mind.
Yeah.
Fuck your facts.
The antagonist
no place in this
is
story.
supposed to represent the chimpanzee, fictional character referred to as Donkey Kong. Didn't we just cover this?
Yes, we did.
The damsel in distress is not necessarily supposed to represent the actual Palva Florence, but someone else with the same characteristics. No one wants to be reminded of Palva's tragedy, but
I don't want to be reminded of it, and I didn't even finish the fucking story.
I don't want to be reminded. So we've made her a character, and not want to be reminded that you wouldn't have done any of this shit.
Mario showed a minorly happy reaction to the game, but Luigi was excited that Nintendo made a game based off his own brother. Oh, and they also used instead of based off being two words, they used based -off.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Luigi was inspired to be a secondary character in the 1983 game Mario Bros. Sadly, Mario died from overdose of acid in 1983.
Whoa. How much acid could you take that? I've never heard of somebody dying of an acid overdose. Was it? Are you sure they don't mean they mean LSD and I don't just mean actual acid? He just drank a bunch of hydrofluoric acid and burned himself to death.
Luigi didn't stop working as a plumber because he was Catholic and believed that Mario is happier dead than alive.
Okay, that's funny for several reasons, but. Why didn't I didn't stop doing my job because I thought my brother was happier being dead. Did you miss something?
I'm just going to
I black out.
Luigi didn't stop working as a plumber because he was Catholic and he believed that Mario is happier dead than alive. I mean, I don't even know where to begin.
Luigi Spartaco Lombardi was interviewed. I love that name, Spartaco. Was interviewed in January 9th, 1984, and a Nintendo worker wanted to use Luigi to give ideas on the next Mario game. Luigi's story to the Nintendo worker about Mario's imagination and reality was leading into a creative game idea, and those words meant nothing, you talentless author.
1985's famous platform video game, Super Mario Bros., was released.
I think I've heard of that one.
Donkey Kong was replaced with a more deadly-looking enemy, Bowser. Bowser was based off the Voriophiliac and the turtle in Palva's mouth mixed together. How? How, question mark. The murderer's name was Devon Bowyer.
Bowyer.
Wasn't Devon Bowyer the guy who gave him a lift?
Yeah, no, that was Dilbert. Let me see. The man's name was Delbert. Oh, here's how they did it. The Nintendo worker grabbed Bowyer's last name and minorly changed it into Bowser.
Yeah, brilliant. The worker has to keep Mario's word of not using a human character based off the actual murderer, so they decided to use the turtle as a sign of evil in the story. They gave the turtle a huge size, spikes, and anthropomorphic traits. They also...
I point out the turtle was like... It's a fucking turtle. It was an innocent... basically an innocent bystander used to horrible effect in the criminal acts.
Check this out, right? They also decided to finally base off Palva Florence into a damsel in distress female character. Did they not do that with Pauline in Donkey Kong?
Wait, they are doing this again, aren't they? Just saying, they described the creative process, quote unquote, above, but now they're doing it again here, except they're using the exact same techniques.
But what's really weird is like they've also
Nintendo.
They also decided to finally base off a female damsel in distress character. I'm like, well, Pauline, which is the name of the girl from Donkey Kong, sounds a lot more like Palva than Peach fucking does. So,
add to that, her name was Toadstool until about the third or fourth game.
That's a good point, actually. I forgot about she was Princess Toadstool, and they still occasionally refer to her that. Even in Mario 64, she's Princess Toadstool and has Peach as like a nickname.
Yeah, nothing says Palva like Toadstool.
Nintendo finally reunites Mario and Luigi into its sequel as plumbers to save Princess from the evil Bowser. I mean, that's not English.
Well, in the sequel, you mean Doki Doki Panic?
Yeah, in the sequel when they're not in the Mushroom Kingdom. That's the plot in this. The Mushroom Kingdom and most of the plot of the story were all based from Mario's hallucinations from acid, especially the mushroom parts because he took shrooms. I thought he took LSD anyway, which made him constantly think about shrooms and the experience he had in Devon Bowyer's house, which made Mario think about the whole story in a different setting with different elements.
Okay, so are we picturing this like completely disoriented, hallucinogenic man wandering around with like a socket wrench in one hand and a pipe junction in the other, rambling about mushrooms? Because that's what I'm getting.
Okay, do you want to take us home?
Me? Sure.
Yeah.
And by take us home, you mean... Oh, yeah, we are almost done. Wow, thank God. The turtles, Koopa Troopas, were used to represent the reptiles that Devon Bowyer held captive. We've already been over this. The bullet bills were supposed to represent the flashback of the time when Mario was held at gunpoint. That was a moment that he would never forget, therefore having nightmares of it and even coming up with bullets with personification. Holy shit. Wow. When y'all said you had a bad one, you did not lie. Peach's umbrella was based off her self-defense move against Devon before she got stuffed into the car. King K. Rool was based off the comment, where the fuck was he? That was Donkey Kong Country! You fucking idiot! That was the early 90s!
It's not even developed by Nintendo.
No, it's not. It was a rare game, and it was a good rare game, but that's besides the point.
It's almost like this story is complete bollocks.
Luigi Spartaco Lombardi died in May 14th, 1988. It was actually that complicated date was actually the name of his favorite bar. From a car accident. As time went on, Nintendo used more of Mario's and Luigi's interviews into making ideas for further games. For example, Yoshi was a figment of Mario Lombardi's imagination as a transportation buddy. What? Fucking what?
It could have even been like his dog or something. Like,
Daisy was Nintendo's own creation by thinking Luigi should have a girlfriend in the series. Hey, that one's actually right! Delfino Plaza was brought up by the man who helped Mario Lombardi make it to the hospital, Delbert. Delfino is dolphin in Italian. The island is shaped like a dolphin. It is the plaza in the middle of Dolphin Island.
the reason for that is because the GameCube was originally going to be shaped like a dolphin and be called Nintendo Dolphin until they realised that was a silly idea. And that's why there's a ton of dolphin references in GameCube games. You'd know that if you did that little thing that good writers occasionally do. What is it called? Oh yeah, fucking research!
I can't believe I'm spending my Saturday afternoon like this. This is basically wanking sad. Let's see. Nintendo thought that Delbert deserved to be based off into the Super Mario series by having part of his name Del convert into a happy resort called Delfino Plaza. There you have it, truth behind Super Mario. Fuck.
And wow, well, for a start off, that sounds like something Creepypasta would have read, first and foremost.
That is terrible.
Before we get to our thoughts, should we do the comments?
Oh yeah.
First one, brilliant.
Okay, the Zeoded Mystery says, this doesn't deserve to be a Cholpasta. I agree, it doesn't deserve to exist. Kaj Darkwind says, besides a lot of grammatical and spelling errors, it's not too bad. I somewhat enjoyed it, 7 out of 10.
Fail.
Hey, it's an IGN editor. 2 in a row here. A Wiki contributor says, I can't say this is great, but it's okay. It's a little too gory and weird for my taste, but there are much worse pastas out there.
That's not a reason to praise it.
Yeah, we're not grading on a curve here, guys.
You know, like, being hit by a car is better than being burned to death, but still, I would not want either to happen to me.
Shouldn't this be on the Creepypasta Wiki? I sort of thought it was good.
But you're wrong.
At least the guy who wrote this tried his best. This wasn't too bad to be a Cholpasta. I quite like this one. A Wiki contributor says, that was good. And obviously all you pussies that said bad things are stupid critics that think they can do better. But you can't! Alright, 1.
And also, I'd like to point out, yes, I can do better. And I have.
Yeah, it was like,
serve I and serve you.
Yeah.
A Wiki contributor says, cucumber. Very insightful.
Like, you can do better by writing a story down and spelling it right. Like I did in my English class in high school.
Irvin is a Roblox.
Let's see.
Says, this is not a Cholpasta, but I just love this. It sounds so real, as if it really actually happened. This is amazing. You're a fucking idiot.
Right, shall we get to our thoughts? Because
yeah, all right.
Can I go first?
Yeah, you can.
All right. What a fucking stretch. I mean, like, here's the plot of Mario. Oh no, there's an edgy backstory. Because, like, oh, so how do you explain this? Well, murderers and, what the fuck? I really sat down one day and thought, you know what, I'm going to try and have an edgy backstory to Mario. And then you failed. You failed really fucking hard. God, that was retarded.
As you know, Jacob, and some of our audience might know, I covered a pasta with MD Phantasm, also Blue Majora, not long ago, called Crybaby Lane.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, and they have a similar section where they try to make connections between extremely gory events and the story itself. And while that's fine if you have fair source material, the problem was, I like the concept of let's make connections between real-life events and what happened in-game or in the series, like the Earthbound theories. You know, I like those, and a lot of them are true, actually. But the problem is, as creepypasta authors tend to do, and it's a terrible move, they believe everything has to be gory, dark, involving mental illness and injury and
massive mind loss,
depression. And a lot of that does not work well when you try to connect it in theory to something else. For instance, it wasn't great, but I saw another Mario theory pasta that went basically like this. Mario was a plumber who worked with his brother, and he had like a bit of bipolar depression or something like that, something that messed with his moods naturally, as opposed to as a result of trauma. And so occasionally he would take taking mushrooms to try and balance himself out and escape from reality. And then they're able to draw a bunch of connections between his story and then the Nintendo games. And while it still wasn't great, I prefer that approach to the Creepypasta because it's trying to provide a somewhat more realistic setting. I believe this story, in addition to being a grammatical nightmare and technically just very lazy, attempted to do the worst thing you could do in horror writing, and that's shoehorn dark or disturbing elements into what you're writing and without providing any sort of connection or context for it being there. Especially the sections I had to skip over I thought were especially vile. And basically, don't let feeling the need to disturb or frighten your audience let you detract from telling a good story. And that's exactly what this author did here. In addition to not knowing how to spell, not knowing basic geography, or any remotely Slavic-sounding names.
Yep. To be honest, I have nothing really intelligent to add. It sucked. It was bad.
On the Bros side, we got to make lots of jokes about Ukraine.
Yeah, I got to make lots of jokes about the Ukraine that probably offended people. It was really awful. Really, really awful. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it was a little darker than what we would normally do. If you liked it and would like to see more content like it, then by all means click the subscribe button. Why not check out one of our other videos and click one of these thumbnails here, check out our other stuff. You might like it, you might not. It's all good though. Thanks very much, and we'll be back soon with more content. Happy New Year, everyone.